Jesus wants to be the Lord of your life. Jesus wants to be the Lord of your life. He doesn't want to be a co-manager of your life. He doesn't want to be an advisor in your life. Jesus wants to be the one and only Lord of your life. And this aspect of our faith, of Jesus being the Lord of our life, I had to learn this in a very particular way when I was discerning my vocation to the priesthood. It was all about learning how to surrender all the things that I wanted, all the control that I wanted in my life, surrender it to God and letting Him be the Lord of my life. Because the call to priesthood came for me, at least at the start, very, very early on. I was raised Catholic, and probably around the age of 7 is when I first thought about becoming a priest. My parents would read us saint stories in the house. And I was always really impressed by these heroes of the faith that had gone before us, and I was always especially interested in the lives of the missionary priests. These men who had given up everything in order to travel all over the world, sometimes laying down their lives so that people could know Jesus. And so I thought to myself, wow, they're pretty cool. They're like superheroes. I want to be like them when I grow up. Maybe I'll become a priest. And then when I was 9 years old, at a parish mission at my church, a priest from the Companions of the Cross, which is the religious order that I ended up joining, he came and gave a parish mission. And his name was Father Tim. Now, Father Tim is blind. He can't see. And I didn't even think that priests could be blind. Like, is this allowed? Like, is he allowed to be a priest? And so he was up there, and he was an amazing preacher, and he was leading worship on the keyboard, and I was just so impressed with him. I was impressed with his joy. I still remember a joke he told. I'm a little 9-year-old sitting in the pew, and he's like, with my cane, I'm able. I was like, okay, that's pretty good, right? And so I thought, this guy's awesome. Like, I want to be a priest like him. Whatever he has, the joy that he has, the love of his priesthood that he has, I want it. And so I went up to him after Mass, and I said, I want to be a priest when I grow up. And he looked down at this little 9-year-old, and I don't think you're supposed to do this as a priest, but he did. And he was like, you're going to be a priest one day, and you should check out the Companions of the Cross. And so he gave me a magazine of the Companions of the Cross, and I took it home, and I was reading through it on my couch at home, and I was seeing these normal-looking guys that I could imagine myself living with, being with, and they were all becoming priests, and they were playing sports together, and they were praying together, and they were going on mission. They were like the missionary priests that I had heard about in these saint stories. I was like, that's it. I'm becoming a Companion of the Cross. So with my dad's help, I wrote a letter to them. I drew them a picture, all explaining how I wanted to be a Companion of the Cross, and I mailed in a very generous $1.50 from my allowance. $1.50. It was a big spender, right? So I sent that in. I don't know if that was like an advancement on my seminary tuition, like, invest this, you'll use it later. But I sent that all in, and the Companions said, okay, well, we don't accept 9-year-olds, but when you're, out of high school, come and let us know. Now, as I got into high school, I still always wanted to be a priest. The Lord had made that call on my life, and I couldn't shake it. And yet this twisted idea of the call entered into my mind, and I thought of it basically like this. I thought, well, if a guy gets married, he has to be faithful to his wife, he has to be responsible, take care of his family, but before that, he can party it up and do whatever he wants. Which is not how you're supposed to prepare for marriage, if anyone's thinking that, Father said we could. No, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, but that's what I thought. And I applied those same principles to priesthood. I thought, I can party it up, I can live selfishly, I can do whatever I want to do, I can control my own life, I can do my own thing, and then when I'm good and ready, I'll settle down, I'll become responsible, I'll start praying again, and I'll become a priest. This was my genius idea. And I tried to do exactly that. And after university, I applied to the Companions of the Cross because I was ready. I thought it was my time. And they looked at me and they said, wow, this guy is so holy. He's so amazing. He's so smart and intelligent. Of course we're going to accept him. No, that's not what they said. They took one look at me and a couple interviews and said, you're not ready this year. And they didn't allow me to enter. And my world came crashing down. First of all, my ego was hurt. I was like, don't they know how awesome I am? Aren't we in the middle of a priest shortage? Like, surely any Catholic guy that walks through their door, they should be grateful to have someone come in. I was so proud. I was so arrogant. I was so selfish. And at the same time, I also had this horrible feeling that I wasn't in control anymore. I couldn't just walk up and demand that I become a priest. I was not in control. And the Lord was using that. The Lord was showing me, you're not in control, Isaac. This isn't your call. This is my call. Are you going to surrender to me? Are you going to drop your desire to control things and let me be the Lord of your life? And this is a very similar call that Jesus, by the way, is making to the disciples in their boat today. Jesus walks by these disciples and they're in their fishing boats and he says, come and follow me. And it says they dropped their nets and followed him. They dropped their nets. What were those nets? Those nets were everything they could control. They were fishermen. They knew how to use those nets. They knew what to do with them. They knew, okay, this net, this boat, this is mine. I do this. Jesus is saying, drop it. Drop your nets. Follow me. Let me be the Lord of your life, and I will transform your life in a way that you could never imagine. And they dropped their nets. Because the Lord is worth following. Jesus is so good. He wants to be the king of your life, just like he was the king of their life. And they dropped their nets. And what does he do with their life? Jesus never takes someone's life and makes it worse than it was before. He always transforms it. These fishermen, once they dropped their nets, became world travelers, miracle workers, the apostles that Jesus built his church on. Their life was radically transformed. Doesn't mean it was always easy. They faced persecution. Jesus doesn't make your life easier, but he does make it better. He transforms it. He glorifies it when we surrender control. And so what are the nets that he wants you to drop? What are those things that you are trying to control and saying, God, you can be God of everything else, but this thing is mine. This is my domain. This is my realm. And I say what happens here. What are those areas of your life? Is it your health? Is it your family, your relationships? Is it your business? Is it your hobbies? Is it your money? What is it that you've said, Lord, this is mine, not yours? And Jesus is saying to you today, drop your nets. Drop your nets and come follow me. Come and follow me. And I guarantee you, if you make the decision to put Jesus at the center of your life, to make him the Lord, your life will be transformed. It will never be the same. It may not become easier, but it will most assuredly become better. The founder of my community, his name was Father Bob Bedard. He founded the Companions of the Cross. And his mission was to proclaim to the whole world that they needed to give permission to God. He would say over and over again, give God permission. Give God permission to move in your life. Say, Lord, wherever you go, I will go. Whatever you want me to say, I will say. Whatever you want me to do, I will do. Give God permission. Surrender your life to him. He would say, wave the white flag of surrender to the Lord. Give him the green light. Roll out the red carpet. Do whatever he wants you to do. The will of God is the only thing worth doing. And I received that message. In my own vocation, in my own call, I had to learn to say, yes, I will put the Lord at the center of my life. And I put in the work that the Companions of the Cross wanted me to work on myself. That summer, I got more serious about prayer. I became a much more honest person. I became a much more humble person. I made a really good confession. And at the end of that year, I went back to the Companions and I said, can I apply now? And they said yes. and I entered into seminary. I spent 9 years in seminary learning how to give God permission, learning how to surrender to Him, learning how to be obedient to Him, learning how to give my life to Him, until June of this year, when in a cathedral in Ottawa, I laid down on the floor before the bishop and said, Lord, I'm giving you everything that I have. I'm giving you everything that I have. My life is yours. Do with me whatever you will. I surrender my life to you. I became one of his priests. And I'm so happy as a priest. I love it. 7 months, I'm kind of an expert at it by now, right? But I love it. It's so much fun. It's so full of joy. Yes, there's hardships, but it's an adventure with the Lord. And you can only have an adventure with the Lord when you say yes to Him and you put Him at the center of your life and you say, Lord, I surrender. My life is yours. Every last piece of it. I'm dropping my nets. Make Jesus the Lord of your life. I challenge you to do that, and you will see the transformation and the glory and the adventure that He brings when you do.